Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of Paranormal Stories. First up today we have Paranormal Dampener by Couple Firm 21. Starting with experiences. Everyone who has had experiences with ghosts, demons, spirits, etc. says it's really quiet when I'm around. Like eerily quiet. People with night terrors experience a noticeable reduction of episodes if I'm under the same roof. As a social courtesy, I don't ask the neighbors. A few people have said that I don't have an aura, while one particular person said that it extended past her perception. She knew I had one because everyone has one. People can't determine and manipulate energy in my presence. The longer I'm in a place, the longer the effects of my being there last. The actual size or power of the dampening is unknown, but it negates everything, it seems. Graveyards, Native American burial grounds, haunted hotels, dilapidated prisons, abandoned hospitals, etc. Worked in a remodeled morgue for archiving records to be digitized. People turned down the job because of just that. No problem here. It was nice and quiet down there by myself, 11 months, never heard or saw a thing. Except the mouse and stack of disheveled ancient broken cardboard boxes that gave up the ghost and toppled over. Has spectre photography done, where I meditate and invite the nearby spirits to make themselves known. Nothing in the film or digital, EVP, nothing. Can I manipulate it? Unknown. I've tried, but it's difficult to test. Assumptions. I have an aura, and it literally envelops everyone and everything around me until it covers a fairly large area. Portals close, spirits regress, phantasms grow small and weak. My aura also lingers. The longer I'm in a location, the more inundated the area becomes. Pros. People have much better rest when I've been around. Not just sleep, rest, but more enjoyable moments of rest during the day. That moment you realize just how quiet it has become. Friendships have happened this way. Many acquaintances blossomed. Cons. When I have to leave a location, after a time my presence begins to wear off. Like buffed gold beginning its tarnish. Cracks begin as the impregnated aura begins to fade. Slowly the volume gets turned up. Everything comes to a head until the quiet stillness is completely gone. Not forever, you hope, but gone for now. And the spiritual noise is back. I live this. The people around me can't figure it out. I can't figure it out. I feel like this could be a wonderful tool to help people, but I need training. How do you get training on something like this? Now, story number 2 today is My Job is Haunted by Bearded Idiot. I don't want to give too much away, but I work at a 3-story building cleaning the floors after 5 p.m. I've been working there for a little under a year. My fiancé works there during the day and tells me that it's all in my head. As of lately, I'm genuinely scared to go to work. One, the elevator always feels like something is in it, a gentleman with a hat and a cane. There's never anyone there, but you can feel him. 2, the top floor never used to give me problems, but as of last night, things have been getting stranger and stranger. The rocking chair felt a little heavier than usual. After picking it up almost every day, Monday through Friday, for almost a year, you know how heavy something is. It also seemed to rock a little too easily. 3, the main floor has a little girl. I know this for a fact. I've seen her reflection in the floor after mopping it. She peeks her hair over the door windows, always out of the corner of my eye. Last night she was skipping up and down the hallways with tap shoes or church shoes. Something. It's a very distinct tapping. Last night she was pulling on my shirt. I was freaked out. Tonight I got to the main floor and heard some scraping metal. It was very unusual. I heard it over my music. I wear gaming headphones because earbuds don't block out the noises that well. After that, I was cleaning the hallway and heard my name. It was a female voice, distorted, really creepy. That was followed by a loud bang. I was freaked out. 4. The basement is the worst. It always feels like someone is watching you. I know there's a kid down there, but there's also a woman. It was just a theory until last night when I saw her silhouette in the back before I turned the lights on. I kept feeling someone blow on me or tap me. Stuff was moving behind my feet to trip me too. Unfortunately, the security cameras have blind spots. I was also sweating my butt off on the other 2 floors, get downstairs immediately freezing cold. You should have seen the goosebumps I had. Tonight, however, something opened a door that I had recently closed, right in front of me. No, it was not loose. It was a regular door with a latch and a frame. You could push on it all day and it wouldn't open unless you turned that handle, and yet it opened right in front of me. I knocked myself out of that moment so fast and had an anxiety attack. It smelled of rotten eggs. The fiancé had a reasonable explanation that I can't give because it's private information, but the rotten egg smell was nothing like what she explained. I have talked with the CEO, and there have been no murders in the building. That would be a terrible TV show. Or deaths, or trauma. It's just a normal building, nothing weird or suspicious. There was a story I heard about how there were tables lined up in a row the next morning after closing the building. No one knows how they got like that. I assume they never had security cameras before that. You don't have to believe me. I barely believe it myself. It's getting to the point where I'm literally yelling into the air to leave me alone. I've tried amethyst, charged amethyst, dragonstone, charged dragonstone, solanite, charged, and tourmaline. And tonight, I tried it charged after we had a full moon. I only work 3 hours a night, and I'm starting to get terrified to go back. I used to work until 11 or 11:30 when I first started, and now I'm afraid to be there past 9 p.m. I have no explanation for anything. The third story today is Neox11, or Neox11. It's been 2.5 years now, but it still feels just as unsettling as it did then. The time right now is 1:44 a.m. It's actually 8:35 p.m., but shh. Monday, March 20th, 2023. I just had the strangest, unsettling thing happen to me, and I can't figure out what was happening or why it happened. Earlier, about 7 hours ago, we had just gotten back from work. But just before we all left work, my father-in-law was talking about trying to locate a set of keys of his that he seemed to have lost. Now, this is where it gets strange and a little downright unnerving. And it still, to this moment, has me feeling so unnerved about it. These keys of his that he's misplaced happen to have a specific key on them for his and my mother-in-law's bedroom. My mother-in-law has a key as well for their bedroom, but she was not in the home at the time. After being back from work for all of about 15 to 20 minutes or so, myself and my wife were in our room, which is right next door over from their bedroom, at the time when I needed to use the restroom. The restroom is literally right next to their room. As I was finishing up the restroom, I hear my father-in-law pass the door and approach his bedroom door, and then I hear him talking to his Alexa, Echo Dot. Bear in mind, each time they unlock the lock on their door, I believe it's a type of deadbolt lock. It makes a pretty loud sound, so you always know when they lock and unlock it every time. And that was exactly what I heard next, just before I proceeded to make my way out of the restroom. I thought to myself at that moment that he must have found his keys. Once I did leave the restroom, I looked over to my right, and their bedroom door was wide open, like normal, and there I saw my father-in-law on the opposite side of their bed, my mother-in-law's side, and his back was turned my direction, as he was facing toward the corner of the wall on that side. His head appeared to be in a slight downward position, as though he was looking for something possibly in the nightstand drawer on her side. I recognized his clothes he was wearing, as that's what he'd been wearing all day on this day. I was walking by as normal, not in a hurry or anything, as I wasn't thinking too much of it at that moment, and just proceeding and making my way back to the room. A little while later, my wife and I decided to go downstairs to get something to eat for dinner, and then just as we made our way down into the living room, we noticed my father-in-law was napping for a bit in the living room. My wife then happened to ask him if he had found his keys yet, and he said no, he still had not. At that point, alarms started going off in my head as I remembered what I had just seen earlier. Now, nothing about it was making sense, after learning what I did at that point. I keep thinking to myself that the door was wide open, and I could have walked right into their room if I had so chosen, or called out to my father-in-law when I saw him there. I don't know if the door really was open or not, seeing as it was impossible for it not to have been, as the keys, father-in-law's keys, are still lost, and again my mother-in-law still wasn't home herself yet. I don't know what was happening, but it still has me quite unnerved about it. Does anyone know or have any idea what I might have just experienced? Also, although this was my first time experiencing this, it's apparent that this was not the first experience of this kind to have been had here in this house. My wife and father-in-law each have had similar experiences in the years past. Please, if anyone could give me some insight on this and possible explanations. And story for today is The Haunted Block by Majestic Royal 3169. I just wanted to share a couple of times I've experienced things I can't really explain. Over the years, I have come to believe not every spirit is here to scare you. Some are here to protect you. My childhood was shaped by a ghost of a little girl in a nightgown we called Robin. These are just a couple of my paranormal experiences. Some neighborhoods have tree-lined streets and friendly neighbors. Mine had all that, but it also had something else, something unseen. Growing up, I experienced things that made me believe our block was haunted, from the girl in the nightgown to footsteps in crawl spaces. It seemed like the whole street carried a shadow of the past. The first time I saw her, I was sitting on the couch with my sister, waiting to head to the bus stop. The TV was on, cartoons flickering in the background, when we both heard footsteps on the stairs. Slow, steady, heavy enough to make us turn our heads. There she was, a little girl in a white nightgown quietly walking down. Halfway down the steps she turned and looked right at us, her eyes calm but unreadable. My sister and I froze and looked at each other wide-eyed. By the time we looked back, she was gone. Just silence. Just stares. That was the beginning. A few years later, a thunderstorm rolled in one night. My sister and I shared a bedroom, and we were curled up watching Disney movies on VHS. The lights were out, the only glow coming from the TV. I was dozing off when I saw what I thought was my sister walk in front of the screen. The shadows swallowed the light, and then the room went black. "Hey," I called out, annoyed that she had shut off the movie. But then my dad yelled up the stairs that the power was out, and my sister's voice floated up from downstairs where she had been with my parents the whole time. My stomach dropped. Whoever stepped in front of that TV wasn't her. Another time I walked past the basement door and caught sight of her again just in the corner of my eye. I backed up quick, staring straight into the basement, but it was empty. The smell of laundry detergent drifted up, but nothing else. My sister and I talked about it so much that we eventually gave her a name, Robin. Giving her a name made her feel less frightening, like she was just another kid hanging out around the block. It wasn't just our house either. At my aunt's place, 2 doors down, my sister and I were helping in the kitchen one weekend, making cheesecake like we always did. The smell of strawberries and cream cheese filled the air, while early 2000s hip-hop blasted from the stereo. It was just another normal night until there was a knock at the door. "Come in," we shouted without thinking. The door opened slowly, then suddenly slammed against the couch so hard it bounced shut. We froze, music still thumping, spoons in midair, staring at each other wide-eyed. Nobody laughed it off. Nobody said a word. Even my friend Leah, who lived 3 houses down, had her stories. One night, when my sister and I were there, we all heard footsteps above us, pacing back and forth. But her attic wasn't even an attic, just a crawl space, too small for anyone to stand in, let alone walk. Still, the footsteps kept going until they finally stopped. Leah used to joke that the ghost in her house was a man, and she even gave him a name, Roger. Over the time, it felt like the entire block was haunted. Years later, I found out why. My grandmother's friend, who grew up on the same street, told her a story. In the 1950s, a little girl named Ruby lived there. She got sick with leukemia, and back then there wasn't much treatment. She died young, right in a backyard not far from where we lived. For years, my sister and I had called the little girl Robin, and Leah called the ghost Roger. But it makes me wonder, why did we all have our names for this ghost when it turns out her name was Ruby? As a kid, I always thought the little girl in the nightgown was the biggest mystery I'd ever face. Was she real? Was it Ruby? Was it Robin? Or was my mind just filling in shadows? Thank you for letting me share. Let me know what you guys think. And the 5th and final story today is The Day I Saw the Violet Man, a childhood story that still haunts me by one beginning 7799. And this takes place in Russia, I believe. This happened when I was in 3rd or 4th grade. I was walking home from school with my classmate, whose nickname was Hedgehog, because of his hair, if anyone's wondering. It was a Saturday around 11 a.m. It was cloudy just after the rain. We were walking and talking about something when I saw a beautiful violet-colored sweater. I looked to see who was wearing it, and I saw a person. He was completely translucent, violet-colored, and had no face. I got scared and immediately asked Hedgehog, "Hedgehog, did you see that? Did you see that person?" "No, what was there?" I told him what I saw. We almost reached the crossroads where we would usually part ways. I said goodbye to him, and then I saw my grandmother. I started walking towards her, but then I saw for a split second a tray of pies and food in her hands. I started running to her. I blinked a couple of times, and her entire body, her clothes, and the tray became the same translucent violet color as that man I had seen. I tried to slow down a bit, but the moment I blinked, she disappeared. Seriously, it scared the hell out of me, but it made me even angrier because I was hungry. When I got home, I asked my grandma, "Grandma, didn't you meet me near the wheel, or whatever the place was called, with pies?" "No, why?" she said. "Nothing." As I entered the house, I smelled a strange, delicious aroma. I walked into the kitchen, and there were the pies and the food. I was terrified, but I never told anyone. About 6 or 7 years later, remembering the story, I asked Hedgehog if he remembered the day and that dialogue. He said yes, he remembered my strange behavior and that question. I thought it was all a dream, but he remembered the conversation just like I did. I've had hallucinations before, but never anything this vivid, and I still don't think it was an hallucination. What do you think it was? I want to hear other people's opinions. The whole story is real. I'm very interested in what others think. And that brings us to the end of this week's video. Big thanks to everyone who allowed me to use their stories. I very much appreciate it. And if y'all would like to support my channel, you can do so by signing up for my Patreon page, linked down in the description there. Support me for $1 or more a month. You get early access to all the videos on Monday. There is also a link to my merchandise store on Teespring. I think that's everything for now, so let's move on to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is there a foodstuff you've tried that you think you probably just had a bad version of it, so you keep meaning to try it again but never have gotten around to it? For example, many years ago, I had baklava, and honestly, I found it tasteless and greasy. But I do keep meaning to get a better one at some point. To try it, just to give it a fair try to see if something's better. I feel the same about Turkish Delight. Although my tastes have definitely matured as I've gotten older, and I do like rose-flavoured things, so I might enjoy it more if I had a better quality one. Let me know what you think in a comment below. And before we go, we'll take a look at the answer of the day from a previous video. And this one came from Paranormal Stories 443, and it was, do you put, I think, was it favourite cereal, and do you put the milk in first or the cereal in first? And I think the question was your favourite cereal, and do you put the milk in first or the cereal first? And today's answer is from Annie Northman. Cereal first, then milk, as it should be, always. Also, I enjoy many different brands: Apple Jacks, Fruity Pebbles, Corn Pops, Frosted Flakes, Cookie Crisp, Honey Nut Cheerios, etc., depending on what cereal cereal mood I'm in. Thank you very much for your answer, Annie Northman. And that brings us to the end of today's video. I'm down a card. One of my SD cards crapped out. I don't know how old it was. It came with the camera when I bought it, and the camera was old when I bought it. So thankfully they're not expensive, so I don't have to pick up a new one of those, which I've been meaning to do anyway. It's just kind of lit a fire under my butt because it's not practical to make as many videos as I do in a week with one 32 gigabit SD card. Anyway, so until next time, thank you very much for watching and take very good care of yourselves. Bye bye.